Start of this race is going to be a little wonky. I don't know how they're going to spread everybody out at the start because it does bottleneck to this bridge here. Really early in the race, and it is really tight, lined side, with logs and rocks. So it's going to be really tight to start this race off. Another thing about this section here is that it is one of the more flowy sections, maybe the only flow section in this whole race. So there's no, everybody's going to be riding, this section, hard, and there's just going to be no passing. It's just going to be like a train of people, essentially, for this first part of the race. There are some drops and some rock rolls within this part of the section. This was my first time riding this course, so I didn't know what to expect, so I did not ride any of the rock rolls, but pretty much all of them were rideable at this part of the race course. So a lot of this course is up downs. You're not getting a lot of just flats across the ridge. It's pretty much up a good portion, down a good portion, up a good portion, and then down to the finish line. So we're not like mashing and dropping gears, like having to, it's, pretty much stated like, okay, here's where I'm going to climb for a while. Here's where I'm going to descend. So it is good in that. At this point, it's where, the first long descent starts. I do speed the climb. This is where the first climb starts. I do speed up the climbs significantly because they're technical, a lot of them, and I was going fairly slow. Being the first time I've ridden here, trying to find my way around, so I sped it up because nobody wants to watch me slowly climb. But as you can see, there are, rock gardens in the climbs. This is one of those types of terrain where you're going to want to spin the whole way up. Not good terrain for mashing. Picking a good line, a smooth line, and just spinning your way to the top. again, as I said, I was not going this fast. I did speed up the video for the climbs. Right here is a descent though, a short descent to get back into the climbing. So now we're back into the climbing. And as I said, it's sped up significantly. I mean, surprisingly, with all of the moisture that we've had recently, there were, some soft, muddy sections, but the rocks and the roots were pretty grippy. But like I said, this is a long climb, and you kind of just have to settle in. It's rocky. You have to pick good lines. But it's not steep. So a bigger rider like myself, I didn't really struggle. This is going to be kind of a hard section if you are in a line of riders and there are riders in front of you that, maybe aren't as good on the rocky climbs. It will be hard, making a pass, getting stopped behind them, getting started again, and that kind of stuff. So you need to keep that in mind at the first of the race. If you feel like maybe you want to get into the get into the woods a little earlier, get out in front. This is one of the races where you'll want to do it. Again, you're still climbing here. And like I said, I sped this up significantly. So, we're 8 minutes into the video, but, this is more closer to 12, 14 minutes. Real time. But again, we're still climbing. So be careful. There is a log right here across the trail. I don't know if they don't remove it. Just just remember that it's there. So there was a slight descent here. And then this takes you into the botanical garden part of the park, which is nice. And you shoot down the gravel road here for a little bit. So I want to say it was like half a mile. I believe that's what my GPS was telling me. That this going down this gravel road. I want to say that was the distance, maybe 0.6 of a mile from the top of the hill down to get to the trail. It's kind of, it stinks that, you're descending. It's just a gravel road, like it's not like a fun rocky trail to descend on after all that climbing they make you do, but it is a good chance to kind of, take in some nutrition, drink some water, get a break. So then after that descent on the gravel, you start climbing again. From what I gathered, this takes you to the highest point. mean, again, I like these kinds of climbs because they're not real steep. You can get a good, a good pace going, nice fast pace if you're a bigger rider. But just being this high up and being at this part of the mountain, my GPS was starting to get kind of wonky and it was losing me. So, like I was saying, my GPS was kind of acting wonky. It was losing me. At this point, I wasn't sure if I needed to stay true on this trail or I needed to go off one of the trails at the fork up here, but my GPS was showing staying straight. But it was like maybe go to the right there, but it was showing going straight. And then once I got up here a little ways, then it started acting up again. Like couldn't find me. So I'm not sure if this was the exact route it got me in the general vicinity. From here, like here I'm checking my GPS, but like from here to the top of the mountain, there could have been another trail to get you to the top of the mountain. But as you can see here, there's still snow on the ground, and as of this was Monday before the race, so So as I got to the hill, top of the hill here, my GPS finally found me, and from here, I was definitely on the trail. I just don't know if I, made to this point was correct. I would say though that this is probably the only real section where I don't, I couldn't ride. There's this huck up over this rock. I didn't get it the first time. I did come back around and almost made it the second time. But, you're up on some, outcropping here, and it runs along the ridge, and then you hit some really gnarly exposed rock slabs that are steep, like this is steeper than it looks, and it's really rough. Like I said, I was able to ride some of it. It's not a get off and push situation the whole time, but if you're riding a pretty aggressive XC bike, with brakes that are merely a suggestion, you might struggle in this section. Now coming up here, yeah, this was unrideable. I tried to find a good line and I just couldn't. On an XC bike, something with, a lot of travel and, maybe 180 rotors with some stopping power, but, I'm running, I can't even remember what I'm running now. 100 back, I don't remember. That was about the extent of the the really gnarly stuff. Oh, this drop right here. So I don't really have a problem with the steepness. It's getting down and having a good landing area. Like this landing area was just unpredictable. So the steepness wasn't a problem necessarily. It was just that there wasn't a clean landing, and and you get some speed going down that slab and hit that wrong. It's bad situation. But that was it. That was like the worst of of the descending, there being unrideable stuff if you're not an expert. This part had some good flow, you know, a few rocks placed here and there, you know, so you have to pick a good line. I really like that. That's the good thing about this race course is when you're descending, if you're riding blind, it doesn't seem like there's a surprise steep climb that you'll be like overgeared for if you're descending. You know, this course lets you finish off the descent, which I really like. So there's a nice gravel road, you know, lets you get some nutrition, lets you get a drink in, and then you shoot up the hill here, you know, up this technical climb with, you know, some rock gardens where it's really hard to keep your momentum. You have to shoot between these two trees. I really struggled on this part here. I was riding really bad. The one real negative about this type of riding is, you know, if you're racing and you lose your momentum, it's really hard to get going again. But it's not really steep. That's the one positive. When it's rocky like this, you're not having to huck over, you can just spin over. Again, I wasn't going this fast. I increased my speed significantly so you didn't have to sit through such a long video. Then after that short descent there, then you start going back uphill. It was like a climb, short descent, back to another climb that's not super steep, just gradual. So this section in particular was one of the more rocky sections where there was just stretches of rock gardens. If you're riding bad, such as myself, you will probably lose some time. So, I realize you kind of just have to really be on your game in your head and just slow as fast in these types of situations. Just keep spinning at a high cadence, which I end up kind of struggling with. Having the wherewithal to be to keep my cadence high, I tend to start mashing it at some point. And then here's another, climb to get you to the top of the hill, some flat, back into climb, but nothing significant, just more of a just a gradient, less steep, barely anything. But then it puts you into this climb here with rocks and roots. And again, this climb here takes you to the upper portion of the course. This is around the half mark of the course. You're pretty high elevation. You can see there's still snow. And then this takes you to the top, and then you ride this gravel-ish, rocky road down. This road was quite long. Would have been nice to have a nice rocky descent on some single track, but this, like I said, this will be a good section to kind of give your legs a rest, give your lungs a break. Just ride down, and this wasn't like a pleasant descent by any means. It was rough. It's just, you have to like kind of go back and forth. Some sections had huge rocks, and some sections were extremely had no traction. You had to jump back and forth. Like I said, this was longer than half-mile descent. So this is a good portion of the course. The course being like 8.5 miles or something like that. I mean, half a mile, that's, an eighth of the course. So. Or 16th of the course. Somewhere around there. Still that's a pretty good portion of the race course, being this rocky long descent. Okay, so I apologize here. My front bike camera died, so I had to do face mount camera. Not the best angle the rest of the way, but I need to get the remaining portion of the course. So after descending on that gravel road, you are still on gravel, and you start climbing up a gravel road. This is more your standard gravel, DGA, where before it was more natural rock, stone. You know, here's a nice long climb. It doesn't, it's not steep. But then you cut up into the woods here, where it gets rocky again. Again, I'm sorry about the angle. But there's, some cutbacks. And this is probably the steepest part of the course, I would say, climbing wise. And it's really not that steep, but it is the steepest part. So much so that there's, cutbacks to make it less steep. And then after that climb, it kind of levels out. Like I said, that was the steepest section, I would say. And then it cuts right back down into the woods in an area where, you start descending. Well, you start descending after you navigate through this this short climb. My memory is failing me here. Actually, there's a climb, and then it gets you onto the top of the mountain here. And then you start descending this. And this is a section that was really rocky, and one thing I did notice, there was horse poop everywhere. I don't know. I did not know horses could navigate rocky sections like this. I thought it was like dangerous for them, but there was a few piles of horse poop throughout this section here where it was really, really rocky. But at this point, I had gotten, warmed up with the rocks, throughout the morning. My head was clearer, was riding better, so I did navigate these rocky sections a lot better. I like how when you get to the top of these mountains, you start getting the exposed rock, like the outcropping, and then the trees are kind of, I think chaparral is the correct term, where they're kind of more sparse and not big, healthy trees, almost like bushes. I like that kind of vibe, especially this time of year. So here I start the descent. This was a pretty fun descent. A little longer than some of the others. Some nice rocky sections. So there's like a berm section that was built out of rocks there. I wish I could have gotten a better image of that, but it's really nice. It looks more imposing than it actually is. I'm riding really slow my first time around here, but I also wanted to kind of get video. If you're going really fast, the video just does not turn out well all the time. It took me, finding my way around and riding quite slow. Having to backtrack a few times, taking a few wrong turns and then turn around. It took me like an hour and a half to get around. But cutting all that out, and whatnot, it was about an hour. And I was riding at like a third of the pace. Maybe not even that I would normally ride. I wasn't even out of breath or, breathing heavily through this whole time. So, I feel 50 minutes for my pace would probably be the right pace for a race lap here. I'm not sure. I'm going to shoot. Hopefully I can finish in 2 hours before, or before that, it's 17 miles. But with this much climbing, it's hard to average that high of speed with this much climbing. It was over an 8.5 mile lap. It was 1,200 feet of climbing, so that's significantly more than 100 feet per mile, which is normally what our XC races are. This was a fun descent too. This, you descend out to the finish. Again, there's nothing really steep here. Just the one section of rock slabs that are real steep that, do kind of require more travel, or a bigger bike, maybe something more slack than an aggressive XC bike. But, granted, if you practice it enough, you can find the right line. But again, running short on time, couldn't session the sections. This was the, probably the least interesting part, where it takes you to, it takes you out. It, very little in ways of obstacles, very little in ways of descending. You kind of see your you kind of see the lake. You're right at the end there, and it pops you out here onto this road, And this road here takes you all the way to the finish line. I want to thank you all for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you at Ringwood.